Hey guys, welcome back for episode 9. So today I'm actually going to be doing stuff to kind of like switch it up so it's not always the same thing. I'm going to kind of introduce like a little bit of me and Carmen and like you know, maybe give you guys some backstory to me on some days, and then like I love history. Like we can talk about history, we can talk about makeup, we can talk about different things. So today I figured for episode 9 I wanted to kind of answer some of the most popular questions that I get about me slash Carmen. So stick around, let's get to it. First things first, my name's Will. I'm Carmen, but Carmen did not come to be until really 2020. Like she was kind of a work in progress. I was called Cammy and stuff like that when I first did anything with a wig, but the makeup was very recent. That started in 2020. But kind of let's go back and we'll go through history and kind of talk about where it all started. So I was born in Jacksonville, Florida in 1988. My birthday, only significant thing is it sometimes falls on Thanksgiving, and it was the day that JFK was assassinated, but I was born in 88. He was murdered in 63, or assassinated in 63. So 11, 22, 88, double numbers, so I've always heard that's a good thing. And then I was born to two very young parents. They were actually teenagers when they got married. They're still married to this day. And I have a younger brother. He's about 5 to 6 years younger than me. All of us get along very well. I was raised in a small town in Florida, and made straight A's all my life. I was very shy, and yeah, so that's kind of the birth history. We'll go ahead and I might switch up a look, wig, whatever. Just stay, focus. ADHD here, So after I was born, like I said, I went to a small school, and up until my sophomore year, I went to the same school with the same people. Really didn't like it that much. I think that it was more me because I've known since I was, as long as I can remember, I knew I was gay, but I couldn't say it. I couldn't admit to myself, but I always knew. And I'd messed around with boys and stuff, but he was like, I was always in denial to myself. And that's really, it's hard because parents don't always quite understand how to handle that. But like I was, I didn't understand how to handle it. So of course they didn't understand. I ended up, junior year, I went to it's within the same county. I went to a school in the next city, and I loved it. It was a smaller school, but I had more fun there. I think because I was kind of coming into my own, I started dating a girl that I went to the other school with. Only girl I was ever with in any kind of way. I dated girls, but it's the only one I was really ever like that with. And we actually got married when I was 18. September 1st, 2007. I had graduated from high school May of 2007. And things were fine. I was still, again, in denial with myself. So nobody knew, even though when you come out, the biggest things people love to say, oh, I always knew. Well, it's kind of rude, especially when you tell, like, my wife, they're like, how did you not know? How does she not know? Oh, I wasn't dressed like this. I wasn't doing this when we were together, you're so used to, from birth, like putting that into a box so that nobody knows anything about this part of you, the case that like you're hidden, so like I said, we got married, and yeah, stay tuned. Let's talk about the marriage. So me and her, we got married September 1st, 2007, in a very small town in Florida, right outside the Georgia line. And it was the church I actually grew up going to. My grandfather was actually the preacher of it all, and it was great. My grandpa married us all. I still to this day, I think that she's, other than my husband I have now, I would say that I was in love with her more than anybody else, because there was no motive, there was no nothing. Like, we just cared about each other. But we weren't meant to be together because obviously I was gay. Now, I was so closeted that I was in the closet with myself. If I'd hook up with a guy, I was so, like, and I never hooked up when I was married. When I was married, I've never cheated like that. Like, never cheated, never went and hooked up with a guy, never did any of that. But when I was younger, like before her or anything, if I had hooked up with a guy, I would like feel so shameful by myself. Like, oh, this isn't right, because that was kind of like what I was taught, growing up in the church and stuff like that. And then I came out to her. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I remember like talking to her, and she had said, we weren't really talking very much, and she had said that she kind of had a crush on one of our friends, and I said, me too. And that's how I came out. And at first I said I was bi, tried to make that work, and it didn't. And then I told her I was gay, but she was one of the biggest supporters. The people who ruined it, the people who really ruined our friendship, and why me and her literally don't, why we couldn't really like become like friends that kind of helped each other more, was the same people who were supposed to be part of a community to help out as well. The gay community, and I will say this very honestly, the gay community in Jacksonville, Florida, pitied her so much. And how dare I do that? And then I'm bringing her out to the gay club. I didn't do that. She wanted to come out. But they pitied her into where she hated me in the end. And that hurt so much because I didn't feel like I had anybody else. And they messed it up. I didn't feel like I had anybody, and I thought that was like the lowest point of my life. Like, I was so happy that I was out. I was finally, it felt weird to even say like somebody was gay or anything like that, but I still lived with her. We had a house in St. Augustine, Florida at the time. We had bought, and now I'm out, and now me and her weren't even talking, and I didn't know how to make friends without her at this point, and I was like, I think I was like 19, 20, when I came out. So it's like, because we weren't together that long. We had been together since kids, so it was like weird, but then, this butterfly spread his wings. I started working out and got in really great shape and moved out of the house with her. Stay tuned for the next chapter. Next, I remember, just basically going out and trying to do things by myself and trying to get a handle on it, and let me tell the prelude to the story of, how I met somebody. So I remember being at the gay club when I first started going out. I was at Club Metro in Jacksonville, Florida, and the main head bartender, so fun, and I wanted to be him. Like, I thought he was hot. Like, I really wanted to be him. And I remember him talking about going home to his boyfriend all that night, and I was like, oh, so like, I don't even have a boyfriend. Like, I don't even know what this is gonna be like, And we ended up, I got to know him. He was from the same small town I was from. Everything, it was really kind of cool, right? So, fast forward, and maybe like a month, 2 months, 6 months, I don't know. It was whatever months later, right? I end up meeting this guy who was fine as hell. And I was like, oh, so something. I said something about him to my friend, and he overheard, and he was like, oh, really? He came over and we talked. It was cool. La-di-da happened, blah, blah, blah. We ended up dating. I was 20, he was 30. I was so into him. It was just, I thought he was gorgeous. Trying to find out, he was that original bartender's ex-boyfriend of 10 years at this point. Like, they broke up a little, maybe it was a year later. Maybe it was a year later. I don't know. I don't remember at this point. I'm 30, almost 33 now. So, and I was just like, oh my God, like when I found out, I was like, wow, I used to want this so bad. And that boy was the worst. Put me through hell. He was a hoarder. He was disgusting, but I lived with him, and I made every excuse in the world. He cheated on me so many times. He would take my car, and I would be out of gas, and he'd go and cheat on me. I remember one day getting off of work, could not get him to answer the phone because he was a secret druggie. I could not get him to wake up to answer the phone. I walked 30 miles home. My feet were killing me. Like, I had so many blisters and stuff on my feet. I had wore holes into the bottom of the shoe. It was horrible. It was horrible. And he literally, as I'm I could see the house, I see him run out to the car. He's like, oh my God, I just realized what time it was. And I'm like, because it's before Uber and Lyft, so it was just tragic. But after I was with him, I met my best friend for many years in a situation. We ended up all getting stuck in a hotel room together during a hurricane, and we all rode out the hurricane there. And we went over to this guy's house later on, and me and that guy ended up telling me that my boyfriend had given him a private number and email and told him to contact him whenever, you know, we left, but that way that was something that I wouldn't know about. And that guy did not like that, so my friend said, he became my friend, and he said that later on I remember him saying, well, if he kicks you out, you can always come here with me, because I didn't have anywhere to go. Because me and my parents weren't really talking at that time. Like, I don't know if they remember, but we weren't really talking. It just wasn't, it wasn't they were against me being gay, it's just they didn't really know. They said I'd changed, and you know, when you first come out, you're very different, because you're kind of like able to express yourself in so many different ways that you're never, like, I could be gay, like I'm allowed to like not think, like if I do something, it's not, oh, she had like a girl, like, you know, it wasn't like that. It was very like, I could do whatever I want now. And so you get, sometimes like when you come out, you get very, very, very ultra flamboyant, and then all of a sudden you kind of come back and it's like, you're still you in the end, you know? But, so we didn't really talk at the time, and I didn't know what to do. So I went and stayed with this guy, and after I confronted my boyfriend and he kicked me out and I had nowhere to go, I went and stayed with that guy, and me and him were besties for so long. So let's get into that. I met my best friend, I moved in with him, and I ended up having, well, right before I moved in with him, like I stayed with him for a little while, and eventually made me kind of work things out with my parents, and I moved in with them out at Jacksonville Beach for a little while. And then I had, I'd been told that my ex-boyfriend was HIV positive, and I needed to go get checked. And I was so scared, I was so nervous. You know, this was my first boyfriend at the time, and I'm like terrified. So I handled that, and I was negative. And I remember what became my best friend, like he was like there for me, you know, but I kind of pulled it back originally because I was just like, oh my God, he was just a memory of everything. Well, I ended up running into somebody who knew him, and I ended up going and telling him, I was like, oh, I am negative and all, and he was so happy for me. And then like he was like, you know, you can always come stay here. Like he had a big house by himself, so I moved in with him, and we had a blast. Like that boy, I did so many adventures with him, like because of him was the first time I ever flew. I went all over the place, you know. He's the reason I'm here in Dallas now, you know. It's like we had so much fun together. I mean, I've done so many different things, you know, because of him. So we traveled, we did all that stuff, had a lot of drama, a lot of things going on, and I had a couple dates in between, a couple boyfriends over a few years, but because my ex-boyfriend was so well known, and the HIV comment had come up so many times, people were very nasty and mean, and was like, this is back when there was a stigma, because there wasn't PrEP or anything. So basically, everybody was always like, oh, well, he has it, but he's not telling anybody. No, I didn't. But, you know, it's like, I just didn't even feel like, you know, I shouldn't even have to talk about that. Like, it's like, I would tell somebody before I had sex with them, but it was just like, damn, like, so instead I just started hating everything there, and I wouldn't date anybody. I then ended up, after a couple, like, you know, little relationships with him, I ended up, my best friend went to prison for 3 years, and that's his story, you can ask him. But I ended up feeling lost without my best friend, so I ended up kind of going to this guy, and we started dating, and it was interesting. You know, he pushed me a lot. I'll say I learned a lot from him. But my life had never been lower than it had ever been, other than with him. Like, basically gutter living for a while. He was a recovering addict, in and out of rehabs and stuff. It got pretty bad for a little while. I can talk about that here next, because it's actually what he's the reason I moved out of Florida for the first time. It was a whirlwind relationship. Like, it was never sexual like that with him. I mean, it was just never like that. It was like I felt comfort in him, and he liked me, and it was, you know, we were whatever. He had lived in San Diego for a little while, and so he was like, oh, you should come. And I was living with him at the time in Jacksonville, so we went to San Diego. Was in Ohio for a while. We moved out to Florida, and he in and out of rehab. I went to cosmetology school. I got like some of the most amazing experiences of my life with him, but also some of the lowest times I could ever think of in my life was with him. He was older than me. He was also with my parents, so he was older than me. I'm just gonna say it didn't work. I don't want to spread any bad things about him. I mean, he's successful. He's like a celebrity makeup artist and stuff now, and stuff. Like, best wishes to him. And I'll leave that with that. While I was with my ex-boyfriend, I was doing Uber and Lyft, and because I had worked at like Bank of America for a long time. I've worked at Enterprise Spectrum. Like, I did all these like big jobs for a while. But at this time I was working as an Uber and Lyft driver. And on December 15th, 2018, the Ford Explorer that I had for, it was a 2004, and I had it for years. My grandma and grandpa had given it to me back before they died, and well, I bought it from them. But you know, I always wanted it, and it always felt like they were with me. You know that. And on December 15th, 2018, I was rear-ended in a horrible accident. Pushed me so far. It was horrible. Couldn't even tell you what kind of car the other guy drove, and so my car was totaled after that, or my SUV was. And then I got into a bad depression, and that's about that time was when me and the ex-boyfriend broke up. But then my best friend was like, hey, he's out of prison now at this point. He just got out of prison. Now he was like, why don't we move to Dallas? Like, he didn't want to be in Jacksonville. I didn't want to be in Jacksonville. So I said, you know what? I can be a cowboy. Let's go. Let's do this, you know. And I don't mean a Dallas Cowboy, you know, football player, but I mean, I would have taken one at the time, you know. Didn't matter to me. So we both just up and moved to Dallas. And like it was a big, huge like apartment, but it was like in the ghetto. And there was so many things going on. I was just like, it was crazy. After a little while, it became crazy. Like, he met this guy and that he couldn't get over, and then you're gonna have to strap in for this next one. This next chapter is it becomes a Lifetime movie. For real. Strap in. Get a snack and get ready for this one, okay? So, just because I know my husband ain't gonna put all my business out there, I would say that, like, so I moved to Dallas working for Enterprise Car Rental. I worked from home, so I was able to kind of do whatever, you know, when it came to like moving. Just had to let them know. So I moved here working for them, and then November 12th, 2019, I got diagnosed with something, and it like was life-changing. And so I wanted something to kind of fulfill my time. So on November 25th, 2019, I ended up starting at Palm Beach Tan. So I started working there, and then that was fun. Like, I was able to tan. I felt great about myself. And I mean, I felt great. Like, I got my groove back. I was loving life. So I was like doing good. And I ended up meeting this guy in January of 2020. And my whole life changed. So I thought that the diagnosis was the big change. January 2020, I meet this guy who I remember maybe around October, I had picked this guy up, and that I met, and we were talking, and like it took me a long time to remember, but he had actually had the same exact story as the guy I ended up dating in January. And all that's gonna make sense here in a minute. So we start dating, and his friend is always around, and it's this older lady, and they basically like take over my life. Like, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go, like, it's like I became trapped in my own world. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, they just were so controlling, and I felt like I had no voice. I didn't know what to do. And then me and my friend were having falling out, because now it's like, why are these people always like doing it? Like, you're allowing them to do it. I wasn't even trying to allow that. It was like, I can't even explain what was going on, you know? So the guy ends up like stealing all my stuff. He is good on the dark web, so he stole my credit. He did stuff with my bank accounts to the point that I couldn't open a bank account anymore. They held my money that was in there. He wrecked my car. He just drained me. And and I'm talking in a couple weeks, like very quickly. So all of a sudden I have no car. I'm in Texas. I have a job that I'm having to walk to now. It was rough. They pay off the car. I got them to pay off the car. Like I was truthful with everything that happened. They pay off the car, and I went to the police and handled that part. And I wasn't even trying to like get anybody in trouble. Like what? My main thing is I just don't want to open this car and all this, but I also want to protect myself. And I know people will, snitches get stitches. So I wasn't even trying to involve myself in that. But he was stalkerish too, so I was like, I gotta get out of this house I'm living in. So I was talking to my manager at Palm Beach. She knew somebody who knew a way that I could get into another apartment, and I moved quickly. And that boy, the day after he wrecked my car, the last time I ever saw him before I ever moved out of that other apartment into my new one, he showed up in a brand new car, and he had no credit, he had no nothing. And the day he got arrested, on his own, he had used my name. Apparently the car was in my name, all kinds of stuff, and yet it's not on my credit. I don't even know. He had made a comment to me the last day when I said, well, Daniel, I said, my credit sucks, so you sound like you could do anything anyway. He goes, it sucks, but don't think I can't do anything to it. And I'm like, wow. There's much more to this story that I don't even want to, like, it was tragic. So I moved out. But the day before I move out, I got some news that scared the living shiitake out of me. Stick around for that. This guy was a con artist. I'm going to find out. Into some relationship things. Like, I had met a friend of his, but when they met, they had never met. Like, nice to meet you. Kind of find out they had been knowing each other for years, and this guy was creepers. And I didn't even want to start with everything I know about this, but like the con artist, he was a mail thief. Like, he would break into people's mailboxes and steal their mail. And I'm talking about like the little flyers and stuff, like the little mailers. You get enough information on different ones that he can hack whatever. So be careful. So the night before I moved out of my apartment in Dallas to the new one, his best friend called me. I don't know why. That woman, she was in the car when he wrecked it, and so she'd been in the hospital. And she had just happened to have gotten a shot that made her a little talkative and let me know what was actually going on. Apparently, they had been watching me and stalking me for 2 months before they actually met me, with every intent to do even worse than what had already happened before he got arrested and she got hurt. Why were y'all watching me? What did y'all want? There's so many unanswered questions I can't even figure out. Like, it got creepy, So I'm moving to my other apartment. Now I'm living by myself. Now I'm like terrified, So I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I'm living by myself, and they cut off my internet while I'm working from home, because they said I had downloaded a movie, which I didn't. But the friend that he knew, yeah, he's a hacker. So, I had to call and talk to people high up to get that fixed. Like I said, I couldn't get into my bank. My mail kept getting broken into. My bank accounts froze, my paychecks, everything. Could not get nothing out because they said it wasn't me. I got into a car accident with my current boyfriend, husband right now. We got into a car accident, and when they ran my license, they said, is this even a legitimate license? It's not coming up. I mind you, it was in the state of Texas, and it's a Florida driver's license, but still, it was kind of like, what? I've even got a new driver's license from Florida, and there's certain places that won't even take it. They can't scan it. They can't do anything. Like, it's not real. This boy effed up my life, okay? And then I was, me and my boyfriend currently, he was living with me over my new apartment, but at the time, it was maybe April. So I dated that guy back in January. It was April, and all of a sudden I get a phone call from Chase Bank, who I had, and they said they were the, it was one of the high up, the vice president of fraud and something else. And I'm like, okay. I was like, you know, what's up? You know, I'm thinking they're gonna talk about this bank account, and they said I can't confirm the guy's identity because I don't work there, but I can just say that there's a detective that's been calling that wants to talk to you. I was like, okay. So come to find out, I called the detective. He was telling me that the ex had gotten arrested. Tried to use my name. Had a ton of bank cards in my name and other people's name, but most of them were in mine, he said. And he just like, he wanted me to like come to his trial and all that stuff and say something, but I was like, he had already been, he was going to federal prison, like, because it's mail route, and he was already taken to like Colorado, I think it was, but because of COVID, he got let out. And that boy had the nerve to take a picture and tag himself onto like my Instagram that I used to have, showing that he was out and home, and that scared the bejesus out of me in more ways than one. So when my current boyfriend, we had met one other time. I remember a guy coming to my door, and it happened to be him, but I didn't know that it was him, you know. Basically one day we've been talking online on, and he was interested based on my Instagram that I was a little revealing on. And so he was like, I said, he wanted to come over, and I said, well, I got things going on, I got, you know, whatever. And he was like, man, you're so flaky. I said, here's my partner number, pull up. I forgot all about it, and he knocked on my door later on, and I was like, oh my God. So I go to open that door, and I don't know what you believe in, but let me tell you, I opened that door, and when I looked out, I swear I saw a woman standing there beside him. And later on I realized that, like, I think it was his mom. Like, I really truly believe it was his mom. His mom has been dead for a few years, but it's like she was hand delivered to him, to me. And me and him just immediately clicked. And we lost track of time. We just fell in love. Like, we immediately fell in love. And as much as I'm a pain in the ass to him, he a pain in the ass to me, like, I love that man to death. So we was together, and then the pandemic's going on and all, and like, it was kind of, I mean, he bought me a Range Rover. Like, we had a blast. We had so much money going on. We went on a trip to Louisiana. Things did not go very well there, and basically in June of 2020, while he was gone, I ended up getting stabbed by somebody that was helping me move in my leg. It was an accident. It's not a, you know, the stabbing really wasn't the worst part. Stay tuned, I'll tell you what went on. The stabbing happened, and I don't really remember, like, everything that, because I ended up passing out because I lost blood, but I remember them busting into my apartment, and because my neighbors saw blood outside when I walked outside, and I remember a cop asking me where the other part of the knife was, and I don't know what he saw. So they rushed me to the hospital. They saved my leg up. Never x-rayed, never did anything. Stayed overnight. It kept busting open. The staples kept popping open. The next day, I'm like, something's wrong. So I go back to the hospital. The doctor's like, are you a junkie? Because I couldn't get back into my house because they broke into my house the day before, and I couldn't walk, and I had nobody there with me, you know, because at the time Dawn was gone, and I'm like, I have nobody. So I'm in the hospital, and I'm dirty, still in scrubs because I couldn't change clothes or anything. And he asked me if I was a junkie, and I was like, no. So he says, well, I'll help you. He was like, what we'll do is, I'll give you some pain medicine if you'll just leave. He goes, or if you want, I'll open up the leg, but I'm not giving you anything. I said, well, something's wrong. I said, so you need to open it up. And so he did, and gave me no pain medicine whatsoever. And when I tell you, it hurt like the dickens. But then he goes, oh, he was like, but the OR immediately. But the part of the knife was still in my leg, and it became infected in the blood. So now I'm in the hospital for 12 days. My parents came and got me. I had 3 surgeries. I never had surgery in my life. I had 3 surgeries, and they had to pull the muscle out of the leg. They had to fix it. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. I have to show you the picture of the before and after. In the video, but it's crazy. So I went back to Florida, and healed up, and came back to Texas to be with my man in the end, and he's been gone for a year and a half. Just handling some things, so he should be home soon, thank God. So when I first moved back to Dallas, I was here by myself, so I was staying in a hotel room for about 3 weeks before I went back and got my dog. And I just randomly had some old makeup, because before I left from my parents' house, I had an ex that, like, so it was a celebrity makeup artist, so he had some just extra makeup. And I was like, I'm gonna be bored, what else am I gonna do? So I pulled out the makeup and started practicing. It was atrocious, but that's where Carmen was born from. And, you know, each time, every day I just learned a little bit more. I found her, and she's really given me like something to focus on while I'm home alone, like waiting on him and stuff. So that was where Carmen was born. So from Will to Carmen, that's how you got here to me. So don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, share, ding the bell, do what y'all do. And also don't forget to follow me on TikTok, Will to Carmen. And thank you guys so much for tuning in and checking out my story. Thanks, guys.